Innovative methods of learning have only recently become a part of the Indian education system. As access to technology improves, we are now able to expand both the methods of learning as well as the scope of what is being taught, incorporating new and exciting technologies to deliver a more holistic education.
The Nanin3 Research Center is developing an educative, interactive computer game for young children still in school. The game is designed to change attitudes that contribute to violence against women and girls in India, to empower young people, to increase empathy, and to raise awareness of the causes and effects of gender inequality and gender-based violence.
Our project gets the name from the global statistics that state that 1 in 3 women globally experience some form of violence. We aim to change these alarming statistics to none in 3. India is amongst the 4 countries that are a part of this project since 2018. The idea was to find a sustainable solution that responds to the root cause of social issues. In India, there lacks a better understanding of what constitutes gender-based violence. The definition within the consciousness of people confines itself to the physical, more visible form of GBV. What is not visible is lived silently by the victims, who are largely women. Norms dictated by patriarchal thought process exists around issues of nutrition, space, body, sexuality, etc. Hence are rarely understood as forms of gender-based violence. It exists in every class and caste of the society, and every age group is impacted by it. Further, the joint family system ensures its transmission through the intergenerational influences. Carrying forward of GBV as a tradition in families is so subtly intertwined with the family value system that the realization that certain traditions are violent and detrimental to the women and children of the family comes as a shock. It is therefore either met with denial or extreme resistance. Thus, it was not only important to bring this to light, but to tackle this issue in a focused manner. If not, gender-based violence will continue to reinstate itself in the lives of individuals as a norm with each generation. All work and no play makes one a dull person. Play, however, has taken a different form in the recent times. A study by KPMG in India highlights the rise of gaming culture amongst the youth. With the access to low-cost smartphones and internet, it's easier to turn to this online platform for entertainment. Games are produced or procured through the apps available, and study shows that average gamer in India is below the age of 24 years. Nanin3 aims to utilize this platform in a more productive and creative and an educational manner. Interactive game interventions can most definitely change the way young people view and respond to social issues. Interactive games can fuel imagination and help develop the ability to solve problems by understanding different perspectives. The game being made is the outcome of 3 years long in-depth research conducted by the Center around the topic of gender-based violence. Children begin to develop attitudes towards violence from an early age, as they witness it around their homes. Through our game, we will recreate crucial life experiences and the possibility of applying diverse thinking to coming up with solutions and respond better. It will also help children better understand people's emotion and beliefs along with their own, and with helping them rethink responses for the future.
So, thanks to research and really grassroots level work by individuals and by organizations, we are aware that the situation of GPV in India is a very serious matter still. And the gravity of the situation is often highlighted by the media as well. And while attempts are being made to curb this kind of violence, the reality is actually still very bleak. So what we really need to look into is the fundamental issue that India is still a very, very patriarchal society with a deep-rooted bias against women and against several other minorities. So to be really honest, women and minorities are having to regularly negotiate systems like, for example, caste, class, geographical location, and obviously gender, that very frequently deny them their basic rights and their dignity of being, actually, even. So, the dominant mindset in India is to avoid kind of structural changes that question this deep laden value systems, and they instead it's what is promoted is this one size fits all approach to the idea of social development. So, and now the reason why GBV in India is still proliferating is because individuals themselves are not given the opportunity to question their own biases. So, and that they have actually been made to normalize over centuries. And so GBV is a very serious issue because institutions as well as individuals need to go through a very radical makeover in their perception of gender and how it is interconnected with the system of oppression as well. So the fact that India its reality is extremely complex, and it's very often difficult to gauge because every life is unique, as is every situation. But in our understanding, there are some factors that promote a very myopic view of gender and women's capabilities. And gender bias is one explanation to the perpetuity of GBV, as it shows that society is very inherently biased towards one gender and discriminating towards other genders. And gender bias runs deep as it is influenced by both conscious and unconscious parts of our mind. Thus, it is really difficult to track and the phenomena that causes this in order for us to resist it. And primarily, though, unchallenged gender norms passed down intergenerationally culminates into what we understand today as gender bias. So, to understand the forces that operate gender bias, we first have to understand that patriarchal and stereotypical gender roles prescribed to women by the larger society have been able to justify the fact that women are indeed second-class citizens, so either in need of protection or to be restricted. And in fact, this belief is articulated in our everyday conversations as well, So for example, when we say that women are caregivers while men are earners, so this is something that comes out very frequently in the things that we talk about. So clearly, what drives gender bias is people's inability to question the dominant knowledge systems that promote a very how do I put it, like an essentialist view of gender, where one gender is essentially supposed to be something and the other gender is essentially supposed to be something else. So according to me, this needs to be challenged and maybe reinterpreted. Area. Okay, so when we started this project, we wanted to see how pervasive GBV is for women, and we found that unless we question the rooted issues that drive people into believing that GBV is acceptable, we would not be able to see the whole picture. As we interviewed women survivors of GBV, we understood that very normative gender roles are accepted both by men as well as women. In fact, institutions also are driven by gender bias that is driven also further by gender roles at its core. So to improve upon this understanding, what we tried to assert was that while women are capable individuals, their capabilities are often very undermined systematically and structurally. So what we see is a kind of cooperation of institutions like family and state together, denying access to women right from a very young age, so that their self-worth gets deeply attached with their prescribed gender roles. So looking at women's life trajectories, we have seen that even if there are several schemes and policies dedicated to women's well-being, which may include action against GBV or a free schooling for women or even reservation in some sectors, the reality is that most women still feel very powerless and do not choose to avail those benefits. So, and moreover, our interactions with men also proved that even in urban spaces, men are in control of most important financial as well as social decisions of a household. And now, while many men insisted that there are more women who are empowered today, who are seen to be productive outside of the private sphere, they continue to think that women should continue to play out their traditionally accepted gender roles as well. So for our research, we try to develop the idea that unless the gender bias at the core of our society is addressed from an early age, where young people are made to question their own presumptions about who does what, so unless we do that, development of women's issues will continue to be very superficial actually. I think that change in belief system, bringing in change in belief systems is very, very hard work. In fact, often impossible also. So people are satisfied with the status quo and are generally averse to change, especially people who are in very dominant positions in the society. So understanding young people and in turn making them understand the importance of questioning, let's say, inequalities is a very useful method in my personal opinion. So, and in my experience, I have seen young people are far more welcoming of radical ideas. So when I think about using technology to justify a social cause, it really excites me. And I see the potential to form a new language of communication that has not yet been explored before, especially in India. So I think that technology should have at its core a mission to bring people together, and for us, video games come as another tool to do this very specific job. I never thought video games to be only for entertainment, because I saw that it has the quality to, completely immerse the player into a very different world. So, actually, just like films, video games actually have the potential to strike up a conversation or even make players think about specific issues. And there has been a lot of research around this area as well. But the problem actually is that the gaming industry is heavily monopolized by corporations that are selling violence, selling bigotry, selling misogyny, and those are the games that are actually super popular. So while the entertainment value of video games is what fuels its predominance with young folks, I think there should still be games that are not just interested in making money, games that try to create a space of learning and skill building that can be useful even in the real world as well. So, but this obviously sounds like a very huge task, because I know many young people would not want to associate an educational aspect to video games. But in this project, our entire attempt is to approach learning in a very balanced way, so that the interactiveness of video games that makes it so desirable is maintained. At the same time, players are also given the option to enhance their skills in complicated real life situations which they may encounter. So in a way, I think my understanding of video games definitely has evolved over my association with this project, and I hope that this kind of understanding of video games is actually useful and used later on by other projects as well. So,
objectives of the game: 1. Help young people understand what gender bias is, that it is an outcome of socialization and it has several manifestations, including gender-based violence. 2. Identify the various kinds of violence individuals face, from subtle to more apparent acts, and how all such behaviors can be toxic. 3. Challenge normative behaviors leading to more social stratification and reduced gender inequality or discrimination.
Prosocial games are games that encourage and teach prosocial behaviour within their player base by using video game mediums that young people are familiar with and enjoy. Prosocial behaviour itself can be explained simply as behaviour that benefits either other people or society as a whole. So empathy, for instance, is a good example of prosocial behaviour. Empathy allows people to understand the feeling of others, and this understanding means people are more likely to act in ways that help instead of harm. Prosocial games look to increase empathy and other prosocial attitudes to better equip their players in a positive way, whilst maintaining the enjoyment level that players would expect from games as a whole. The Good Game Principles is a framework developed by the Non-in-3 game development team using a combination of established industry doctrine and professional expertise from both in and outside the centre. The framework provides a mantra and baseline for everything we do within game development to ensure that the game is to be as effective as possible for as many people as possible. The Good Game Principles are important because they ensure the creation of a complete and engaging experience from the player's perspective, from getting across the important and culturally sensitive information in a way that doesn't fatigue the player, to making sure that the narrative has a satisfying conclusion that wraps up the game as a whole. These principles are key to creating the entire experience that we need for players to engage with from the very first moment in the game. At the forefront of everything we did was the question, is this authentic? And really the best way that we found to ensure the legitimacy and cultural relevance for the youth of India was by listening to them. We spent a lot of time discussing topics and issues with the country team, asking questions about what would or wouldn't be appropriate, and we also did our own research. During the 2019 Mumbai Summit, a number of our team spent 10 days in India, and we used this time to soak up as much knowledge as possible. We met with families, teachers, and visited a number of places to make sure that the environments and the interactions within them would be exactly what a young person in India would expect to see within the game. Similar, yes, but certainly not on this scale, and not this detailed. Prosocial games have existed for quite a while and have been involved in research before, but we're taking a unique approach by focusing on the game element as well as the research. We want these games to stand up on their own and be appealing outside of research contexts, so that we can try and reach as many people as possible in the long term. While each game is tailored to their specific country needs and looks at topics that are particularly relevant to that context, all the games are playable by anyone around the world, and they'd still be able to take away something from the experience. 100% I believe that they can. Video games offer such a unique experience to the user that they really combine the best of some of our favourite art forms. The thrill of a good story like a movie, the engaging depth of your favourite book. Video games reach us in a way that no other medium can do, and we're really only in the infancy of their existence. The way technology changes and grows, video games right now are going to be different to the video games 10 years from now, and that's really exciting. But the core of what they are will always be the same. games that are made by people who love what they do and believe in what they do for people who love to play. And if you bring a group of people together who want to change the world, it can happen in any way they want. We just want to do it with video games.
As young people who were schooled with more traditional ways of learning, it is inspiring for us to see new ways of teaching, like video games being incorporated into the education system, especially to cover social issues like gender equality and sensitization against gender-based violence.
In today's world, it is crucial that a child grows up to be more than just an academic expert. It is equally important that they are responsible and empathetic human beings. That change is what None in Three's games are going to bring.
And we eagerly look forward to it.